Welcome to Discon Three's monthly video podcast. Today we're talking to Andrea Senchi, Discon Three's art show director, and Andrea has been the longtime art show director for LunaCon, one of New York's longest running conventions. She was co-art show director for the Millennium PhilCon, Worldcon 2001. Andrea has served on ASFA's board of directors as well as ASFA's Chesley committee. Thanks for joining us, Andrea.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. Tell us about your life in art and how you got interested in art.
I've always loved art. Anybody that has seen my stick figures or anything can tell you, and I will freely tell you, I am not an artist. But I said somebody's got to appreciate the art that other people do and buy it so that they keep making more. And as far back as I remember, I just liked art. I liked looking at, and marveling at what people can produce. I started going to conventions. My first convention was one of the famed Commodore cons back in New York in the 70s. And they had been going on for about 2 years. And I was living in the city at the time. And they had been going on for about 2 years before I found out about them. I was like, why didn't I know about this sooner? And I went, and just like being there with a couple of thousand of people that you didn't have to explain yourself to, that they understood like why I love this, why I love that, and at that point, of course, the major thing was Star Trek because it was mostly all that we had, but still, just learning about that. And then attending LunaCon, attending various conventions that I heard about in the area. I've always lived on the East Coast. And learning, just learning about it, looking at the art, looking at the thing, and then found out that, oh, they need volunteers. It's not just like this stuff doesn't just, like I knew it didn't magically appear, but just to learn about, oh, well, they need help. Well, let's see what I can do, and everything. And I started working as a gopher, which is what usually we start working at, send me here, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Okay. And I after a couple of cons, I started gravitating more towards the art shows and helping out in them. And that's where I've been ever since. And as you say, I ran LunaCon for almost 20 years. And I got into that by getting a call from one of the people in the Lunarians one day who said, the person who was running the art show doesn't want to do it anymore. You've been working for years. How would you like to do it? And I went, okay, but I will need help. And then I've gotten to the point now where, since I've been doing that, and as you say, I did MilPhil, and I've also done 2 World Fantasy Convention art shows, both in Columbus. I am now, God help me, the person that other people go to and say, how do I do this? Or how do I break into it?
Help me.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, why are you asking me? But that's kind of how I got into it and got into conventions and started doing it. And that's the best way I can tell people is you learn by doing. Get into it, help. God knows any art show, any convention needs help. And if you go in there with a willing attitude, I have made friends for life. I have made friends that, I never would have known had I not gotten into this milieu. And it's just like, it's a whole different world, and it's fun to be involved in.
Yeah, you find your people and your tribe, and you show up and you work with them and get things done. And it's exciting.
It is. And it's like, now, of course, now with COVID, we're missing our tribe. Like, we can do Zoom and we do virtual, and you always, you're emailing and everything, but not just to, be there to see somebody that you haven't seen in a year and squee and hug and catch up. It's keeping the tribal boundaries strong and tribal interactions going. and keeping us
It
together.
won't last forever, but
Yeah.
it is good that we have the internet, because if we'd had something like this 20, 30 years ago, I don't know how we would have kept it together.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't have been able to communicate with each other as well as we can now.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
this kind of thing had happened like in the 80s.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Yeah. So pre-convention, what is the process for getting ready for the art show? Because I think a lot of people who haven't volunteered at conventions don't know how much work goes into it.
Yeah. People that I've tried to, train or talk about and everything are like, wow, this is a lot of work. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember at Buccaneer, we were helping assemble the art show, physically assemble it. And we were working alongside union guys because that was the arrangement we came to. And they were taking a break for lunch. They're like, aren't you guys going to break for lunch? And we're like, no, we're going to just finish this up. And then they said, how much are you getting paid for this? And we're like, we're volunteers.
We're volunteers.
Blew their minds. But how do you get ready for the art show? Okay. First off, you got to be crazy enough to say you'll do it. And then you start assembling a team. And then you look at what's been done. And, sometimes it's like, why reinvent the wheel? Like when I took over Lunacon, it's like, there were things I wanted to change, but it's like the first year or two, it's like, okay, this is what's been done. We'll continue doing it. And then let me think about what we can do it. So it's finding out what your space is, figuring out how many panels you can put in that space, figuring out what kind of hangings you're going to use. Hangings are the actual physical thing that the artists hang the art on. And some people have a grid system. The East Coast is famous for our pipe and pegboard system. And then again, how do you arrange those pipes and pegboards, and how much your space, and how, you could try and make major use of your space. Then you go to your contact list. And when I first started this, which was somewhere in the 80s or so, it was, okay, then you draft a letter, go to Staples, print out 200 copies, fold them into envelopes and mail them out to everybody. Nowadays, it's like, send the email. And it's like you invite people to the show. And when you invite the artists, you tell them, okay, this is who we are. This is what we are. This is what we're kind of looking for. This is the space that we can offer you. This is how much that space costs. This is what covers it. And, contact me then if you want to be a part of the show. Then there's the actual, wherever your physical setup is stored, you have to get that to the convention space, which is usually a whole separate team of logistics for the whole convention. They get to do all the heavy moving. And then they dump you with a big, pallets of pegboard and carts of pipe and buckets full of 3-ways and 2-ways connectors. And then you have to sit and assemble the thing. And that's usually the night or two before the con. And that's usually a dedicated crew of the more the merrier, but then you actually have to physically raise the framework and connect the pegboard to the framework in whatever form you're using. You have lots of hooks and bulldog clips and regular clips. And then usually the next day, then you have the artists check in and you direct them. You have somebody at the desk and you direct them to their space and, excuse me, and then they set up their art. And then once they have their art all set up, each piece has to have a bid sheet on it that states artist name, which should be obvious, but it isn't to some artists for some reason. And then the title of the piece, and the artist sets a minimum bid of what's the minimum they will accept for that piece. And then they either set an auction price or an after closeout price, meaning that, well, you didn't bid on it, it didn't sell. So now if you still want to buy it, you're going to pay more for it. I won't get into the bidding process right now, but each piece has a bid sheet on it. And then once the artist has hung all their art, one of the art show staffers goes with them to their space and double checks the bid sheet against a control sheet to make sure that everything matches. That, like, not that you have a minimum bid of $50 on your control sheet, but a minimum bid of $100 on your bid sheet, because that's what, we have to go by the records. And then once they, and a staff member has checked that everything matches, you sign the paper, and the artist can then go on their way and only come back. They only have to come back to pick up the art at the end of the con. Obviously, we hope that we have a reception, usually like the first night of the con, for artists and collectors, or artists in the whole convention. Each convention is a little different, but once the artists have checked their art in, it is our responsibility as the art show staff to guard the art, and we will have security. And sometimes, like a Worldcon, definitely we have paid security roaming during while the art show is open. And obviously, even when the hall is closed, there is somebody there, because we have, thousands upon Worldcon can be $1 million worth of art. So yes, we need to protect it. And then we just, we are responsible for taking bids, selling it. The artists can also bring prints. While they do have to bid on like an original piece of art, somebody would have to bid on that. Prints are replications. They can just go to the print shop, take down the little 5x7 of the big piece that they can't afford, but they can afford the $15 for the print, and they bring it up and they can buy it right then and there. So you have somebody set up for there. So that's kind of the pre-con setup. Pre-con and a little bit of at-con, so it's the physical, and it's like, usually like say for a weekend con, we move in Thursday night. We set up Thursday night very late into the night, finish up Friday morning, usually before noon when the artists start to check in. The convention opens around 6 o'clock maybe. We say art show will open around 6 because the artists have to come and hang their stuff. And then we're open all day Saturday. We're open Sunday morning. Then we close for close out and see which pieces have sold. If there's going to be pieces going to auction, then we have the auction. Then people come and pick up and pay for what they have, bought. And there are still pieces available that the artist put an after closeout price. Like, gee, I was really hoping for this piece at auction. I didn't get it. So now I've got this money burning a hole in my pocket that I wanted to buy art with. So I was looking at that piece. That's kind of nice. Okay, I'll buy it. And then once we clear out all the art and the artists start taking their stuff down, then we have to, all that stuff that we put up on Thursday night, we have to tear it down on Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, and take it all down, get it on the carts so that logistics can take it away and then store it. And then we do the same thing next year. And we volunteer for this. We are crazy, but we love it, because otherwise there's no point in doing it.
Yeah. It's a labor of love.
It is. It really is.
So how do you find the artists to exhibit? Do you have a lot of people apply, or is it?
You have, like, as I said, when I first took over LunaCon, I had, like, these are the people that have been, so you have a base list of, these are people that have done it before. You go to other conventions and you see somebody that you say, oh, their stuff is nice. And you take the cards. A lot of times the artists will have cards at their display, or you go to the art show control desk and say, can I get contact info on Artist Dawn, type of thing. And you build up a list too. And then of course you have people that nowadays in the internet, it's much more so that, hi, I saw something about your show, about this convention online. Do you have an art show? How do I get into it? So you say, okay, like I had 1 or 2 questions about that for DisCon this last week. And I wrote back to the person saying, okay, we're still working on our rules and our things and all, but you've sent me an email. I now have your email address. When we send out the invitations and the things, you will be getting it. So you build up, and the longer you do it, the more artists that you see like each year, and they'll sometimes say, oh, I know this person that they're really good, but they're kind of shy. Can you contact them? Or, like I'll work on them, you work on them, and let's see if we can get them here, because I think they'd be really good for the show, and it would be good for them too, to get out and so people see that, wow, you build up lists. And with the East, we have a group called the Tiffasac, the incredible floating East Coast art show crew. And we work, as I said, it's my tribe. We work different shows up and down the East Coast. And we've even done one of our members, well, several of our members at different times were art show directors for LA cons, different LA World cons. They imported us from the East Coast. So it's like for Discon, they ask me, they get the East Coast art show crew coming in. And so like I might run Lunacon, Joni Dashoff runs PhilCon. So if she had like, Joni, can you share me, like we share lists, we share artist lists. So it's like, okay, well, I already have this person. Yeah, I know this person. This one's new. And nowadays with the internet, it's so much easier because I can go and look up this artist and see, okay, what type of thing that they do, because that's a big thing. And when we were talking about prepping, how you set up the art show. What if you have like, say, a bay that can hold like 3 artists, like one artist might buy the whole bay, one artist might buy two panels, one artist might buy 1 panel. Who do I put next to each other?
Yeah.
You don't put somebody with, totally similar styles in the same bay. And you don't, because it's cruel, you don't put a rank amateur next to a pro, because that's cruel. And you want to encourage somebody that's just starting out. So you give them the space, you sell them the space. It's not you're giving, they're buying, you're selling, but you put them next to somebody similar in terms of technique.
Skill level, yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the word, skill level, yes.
Yeah.
So as I said, like one time I had Tom Kidd, who's a very well-known artist, and he wanted an end panel, which is flat because he had an 8-foot piece. And then he wanted a panel around the end. So it's like, who do I put in a bay with Tom Kidd? So I put a lady who does glasswork and I put a lady who does quilting, because there was no,
And then nobody had to be like, oh my God, look what I'm next to.
Exactly. And it mixes it up too, because, you want to engage the person that's going to be coming, the con goer that's going to be coming into the art show. You don't want them to go look at 1 or 2 bays and say, oh, it's all the same stuff and walk out again.
Yeah.
You want to mix it up so that you draw them into your trap and then sell them in.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you find, artists to exhibit. And as I said, we share. We have, everybody has their lists of their regulars and new finds, and we share.
Yeah, and that leads us into what does an artist need to do if they want to exhibit at Discon 3?
They have to be patient right now because we haven't, as I said, we're still,
still working out all the details.
And, like how, as I said, like what's exact space am I going to get is going to depend on exactly where physically there are problems. I think people know if they've been looking at the Discon site about the Marriott hotel, like, is it going to be there or not? So, I was going to have this space in the Marriott, but if we move to the Omni, I'm going to have that space. So it's similar in square footage, but in layout, and the size of the room and the configuration of the room will make a difference. Columns, nice big structural support columns are an art show artist director's nightmare, because you can't move them.
You can't move them. You got to work around them.
Exactly. And it's how do I work around them? So you have to keep, playing with that. So we're still, waiting on that, because how much are we going to be? We have to, the Discon is a volunteer organization. It's a 501(c)(3). We are not in it to make a profit. We are also not in it to lose money. So, and we do not charge a commission on the art, like some places are like art galleries. Well, you enter your art and then they take, art galleries will take like maybe 50% of the sale price. Some cons will have a very low panel fee, but then like say they take 10% of your, or 5% of your sales over a certain amount. East Coast Art Show crew hates commissions. As a general rule, we do not like commissions. So you have to peg your price for your panels as to, I'm making my cost. I am not, if I sell these many panels, this is my rental, this is my thing. I have to rent the panels, tables you get from wherever, and draping the tables. Tablecloths cost money, depending on,
Everything costs money.
yeah, how many chairs can I get behind a table to sit my crew at? So we have to set, first off, what we have to do is we have to figure out, and once we get concrete information, then we can send out concrete information. And then, as I said, then we send out a blast email to everybody on whatever lists I have, and have maybe some of my other friends, in other cities say, okay, I'm sending to such and so, this person more, can you send it out to them? And you send out an email with, usually people are not going to read, like if you send them an email that's, 3 pages long or 4 pages long about all the details. So you send them an email, hi, we're open for submissions now. Go to the website, and you give them a link that they can go, and then at their leisure, read the rules and everything. And then obviously it's like, okay, once you've read this and see what we're offering and how much it is, this is how you apply. And we then take it as a, usually space limitations will say how many artists I can let in, type of thing. So it's like, a lot of times it's a first come, first serve basis. You do also reserve the right to say, if somebody wants 6 panels, no, only the artist guest of honor gets more than like a bay. You can get a bay, and maybe a bay and a table or 2, like we set space limitations as to what they can request. And they say first come, first served. And then you usually end up with especially for Worldcon, you end up with a waiting list that, okay, you've signed up and you've, given us your money, or you've, pledged the money. And then we also have to set up that system of how we're collecting and what we're doing. But then, you have a life change, God help us, you're in California with the fires, and gee, you're not coming out to the East Coast. So you're giving up your space. So then we, we do refund your space fees. Not if you tell us the morning of the convention, oh, by the way, I'm not coming. But if you tell us, in advance, so that we can pull somebody off the wait list and fill the space, because you don't want to have a, you
don't want to empty spaces. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like there usually is, like, say, a last minute no show. Some Gary Lippincott, who's from New England, who's a beautiful, has won awards, watercolor artist, who's very big at FairyCon. They sent me an email one time like, well, I set out from the house, I'm about 10 miles and I've seen 15 accidents so far. There's an ice storm going on.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm coming. And I'm like, Gary, we love you. Turn around, go home, be safe.
Yeah, there's always something that comes up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when you have that many people coming to a place, there's going to be somebody that has something.
And then sometimes it depends on, what it is. Like I can call somebody on the wait list and say, okay, I know it's last minute. Maybe I don't expect you Friday, but if you can be here by Saturday morning with your art, you can enter the show. Or somebody that, like, maybe they had 1 to 3 panels, I gave them 2 panels, I can call them and say, okay, you've got your 3rd panel, type of thing like that. Or if people can also mail in their art, like people that live, across the country, they can't obviously attend all the conventions outside of their area. So they mail in. So I might spread out, or like, this artist really only bought a panel, but I've got this half panel empty next to them. So I'll let them spread out. And depending on my higher ups in the con, I might charge them for it, or I might not. I might just say, you can spread out over that half panel too. And then I didn't
keep it from looking empty, just kind of fill it.
Exactly. And spread it out a little bit. And as I said, I didn't mention mail-in, but like mail-in artists, as I said, can mail in. They usually have an extra fee for the mail-in, which is about $15, $20 because
you have to have somebody to receive it and set it up and
hang it, do it, and then whatever they don't sell. And art show staff is very happy when a mail-in artist sells out. We are very happy because it
Then
means
you
we
don't
don't.
have to send it back.
Yes, exactly. For Discon, I don't know how I'm getting ahead of ourselves here, but we are going to be accepting mail-in. We will take mail-in. And there's something else which maybe we'll get to later that I'll talk about.
And let's see, do you have any advice for exhibiting artists?
I'm not an artist. I
Well, I
can,
think it would be more like advice about how to make the setup go smoother, or
yeah,
like,
that I can tell them, you know, and
yeah,
like artists come to me and say, how much do you think I should charge for this piece? And I'm like, how much work did you put into it? If you set a price of this and it just sells for that and doesn't get bid up on or go to auction, because as I said, the artist sets a minimum price and somebody can come and write on the bid sheet the minimum price, but then somebody else says, oh no, I want to buy that, and they up the bid. And then you have, depending on the convention, there's a certain number of bids that it will go to voice auction. So of course the hope is for it to go to auction and there be a bidding frenzy on the piece for any artist. But I always say, like, when they, how much do you think I should put for a minimum bid? I'm like, what's the minimum, considering what you put into this and what it is, that if it sold for just that, you wouldn't cry, you know, that this is the, yeah, I did this much work. I did this, it's that. And I, you know, it's,
how many hours did you put into this piece?
yes,
And
yes,
yeah,
exactly. And so if it, as I said, if it goes for this, if it goes for this price, you'd be happy with that. Or maybe not happy because it didn't go to auction, but you would, it's acceptable to you. So
and you don't feel like you've lost effort and money.
exactly,
And
exactly.
yeah,
Because then if that happens a lot, they're not going to come back to the art show if, you know, like, people aren't buying. And like, as they say, like, a question I get a lot, what sells at your show? Damned if I know, because it changes. You know, like one year we had, like, for some reason or other, I don't know, we had a lot of horror art and people bought it. The next year, several people sent it in and nothing sold. So, you know, it depends on the
what
mood,
kind of mood people are in.
what kind
Yeah,
of mood people are in. Like,
what's going on in popular culture, and what
and
people are
lately,
thinking of right now. And yeah,
on a whole, art shows sales have been going down because, well, especially now with the pandemic and everything, people are trying to eat and pay their rent and everything. And art, while it's beautiful and it elevates your soul and it gives you satisfaction, it's a luxury. It's a luxury. And when you're trying to put food on the table, I love that piece. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Or do I feed my family tonight? So that's another consideration that we obviously have no control over, but it does affect us. So, you know, I'll say to artists, you know, one year you might sell out. You know, a lot of times too, it's, if it's the first time an artist has been exhibiting in a certain show and people have not seen their work, they're going to be, you know, they're going to sell better. And then the second year, the third year, the fourth year, if the artist does not change and grow, and most artists do, some don't, some just stick in the same rut and don't even refine their technical skills. So yeah, they sold good the first year, but they're not going to be selling good this, you know, because people are always looking for the new. They're looking for something different that they have not seen before. And so, but they might look at, you know, somebody's piece and say, oh, I remember them when they first started out and this is so much better. Wow. I will buy this, type of thing. So as I say, artists will say to me, what sells at your show? It varies. I cannot predict. So I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. You know, send me what you think are your best pieces or that are your most sellable pieces, and we will do our best to sell them.
let's see. And what are your goals for the Discon 3 art show?
To have the best possible show we can with a wide variety of art that will appeal to a wide variety of attendees, whether they be in person, please God, or virtual, which of course is always in the back of our minds and is a consideration, but to have the best I can assemble and that will excite people and make them look at something and say, wow. And maybe somebody that's just starting out like I was when I first started attending cons and going to the art show, just walking in and like standing there like, whoa. And I would like to give that to people.
Yeah. Who are some of the artists you're looking to recruit for the Discon 3 art show?
That is a hard question, because if I mention anyone by name,
and then they don't come, and
they don't come. Like, I mean, like as I said, like I have my list. I have my list of regulars that have come with me. The artists that I mentioned from Denver, Perry Charlefou. Oh God. I mean, God, if I could get Michael Whalen. But a lot of the real, I don't want to say really good, but a lot of the well-established artists don't really do cons anymore. So if I will send out my net far and wide, and, pray that, and I've already seen some, chatter on the Discon 3 sites that, wow, finally something that I don't have to, pay, astronomical plane fares to get to. I can just, drive down and whatever. It's local, or not local in a sense of form. So yeah, I'll come down and I'll bring my art and I'll exhibit it. So I'm hoping we have a lot of extremely well-known, extremely fantastic artists on the East Coast. And believe me, they are all going to be invited.
Yeah.
And as I said, like I mentioned, the one name, but I had already talked about, his art, but I don't want to like say single out anyone. While I do have my favorites, if you come and take a tour of my house and see what's on my walls, you would get some ideas. But whoever would like to come, I will gladly welcome them. And thank you for having me.